Okay, and I think we're good to go ahead and get started for the evening. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. My name is Anderson Clayton. I have the honor of being the North Carolina Democratic Party chair. Along with on here tonight, I have one of my officers, Jonah Garson, who's our first vice chair. And we also have a wide range of people who work for the state party on this call tonight who are here to make sure that we launch Field Team Justice. So thank you all for caring about our judicial races in ways that we know are extremely important to both winning back North Carolina for a better, safer, brighter future, but also making sure that we hold ground in our state this year by reelecting Justice Anita Earls on the pathway to a 2028 takeback of our court. So tonight, what you're going to hear from is the launch of Field Team Justice. So thank you all for being on here and being willing to get out on the doors with us and also on the phones with us this year for our judicial candidates. You're going to get a training from our judicial director, Becca Zirkin, and also our organizing director, Sarah O'Brien, who are both on this call here with us tonight. These two phenomenal women have done incredible work to make sure that our judicial races are prioritized in the party and really putting a focal effort on making sure that we re-elect Justice Anita Earls this year. I know nobody better to talk to you all, though, about the fight to take back our courts than the fantastic former Supreme Court Justice Mike Morgan, who is here with us tonight to kick us off in a fantastic way that I know that he will do. Someone that in 2016 was the sole reason why Democrats took back control of the North Carolina State Supreme Court. And we're on the mission to do that here again by 2028. So, Justice Morgan, thank you for the work that you've done for our party. And thank you for being here with us tonight. We deeply, deeply appreciate it.
Anderson, it's my honor to be here, and thank you for such a tremendous introduction and for your leadership as well. Thanks to all of you volunteers all across the state for your time, effort, talent, and sacrifice to contribute mightily to this critical cause to work for our courts and to re-elect Anita Earls to the Supreme Court of North Carolina. Your contribution to justice through connecting with voters in this 2026 cycle will go a long way towards preserving and promoting justice. When you explain to voters the importance of this Supreme Court race and the reasons to keep Justice Earls on the court. Justice Earls and I served together on the High Court for almost 5 full years, from her swearing in on January 2019 until I retired in September 2023. She is brilliant, thoughtful, fair-minded, ethical, hardworking. If you're in a laboratory and decided to create and to somehow come up with the perfect North Carolina Supreme Court justice, you come up with Anita Earls. That's just how great she is in terms of what she does for all of us. Our chambers were located side by side. No one is more familiar with her court abilities than I am. Justice Earls deserves to be on our state's highest court, and North Carolina needs her to be there. Your valuable canvassing work will be a driving force in getting her reelected and in reclaiming our court system in the face of those who don't respect our courts, don't respect the separation of powers among our 3 branches of government, and therefore don't want to have Justice Earls on the court to do the right thing when it comes to justice, fairness, and equality for all of us. As the foot soldiers who are tilling the field in this 2026 judicial election, it is you volunteers who are shaping and crafting the outcome of this race. Sure, the voters will decide the race, but just as dedicated teachers mold their students in their journey of life, you dedicated volunteers will mold the voters whom you touch in their journey as they go to the ballot box and cast their vote for this critical Supreme Court race. Now, we see what's happening in our nation, our beloved nation. We're justifiably frustrated and even angry about what's going on these days. And yet we must keep our eyes fully focused and make our voices heard, because we've got to take care of the home turf first to make sure we're doing that all we need to do on the home front here in North Carolina. For the Supreme Court of North Carolina, you volunteers have a pivotal role in the achievement of the master plan, which was conceived in 2024. First, work hard to keep Justice Riggs on the court in the 2024 election, which we did. Secondly, work hard to re-elect Justice Earls on the court in the 2026 election, which we must do. And then thirdly, work hard to flip the court in the 2028 elections when 3 seats, all held by Republicans, are up. Folks, we're ready to do this. I feel energized seeing all these names come across the chat from all over the state as we're ready to work for justice in North Carolina. We're all in the midst of a movement right now. Thank you for being an essential part of it, because we need all hands on deck. I'm energized, I'm ready, and I know you are. Let's take our courts back and win this seat for North Carolina. It's now my esteemed honor to introduce my distinguished colleague of the judiciary, whom we shall re-elect to the Supreme Court of North Carolina, the court's Senior Associate Justice, the Honorable Anita Earls.
Wow, thank you, Justice Morgan. I am so honored to follow you once again. That was always my role on the court, to speak after you do. And I will always be grateful to the all the guidance that you gave me when I joined the court. I'm so thrilled to be with all of you this evening. I can't even begin to tell you how much it means to me, how much it means to our court, and ultimately to our democracy, not only in North Carolina, but really nationally, that you all are willing to be our boots on the ground to get the word out to voters about why they should vote all the way down the ballot, why they should care about the state Supreme Court, because that is going to be the key. And I will tell you, I've done a lot of talking with folks from around the country to try to get them to join with us in this enterprise. And whether it's Boston or Chicago or San Francisco or New York or Washington, D.C., Democrats around the country do have their eye on North Carolina. And they are wanting to see that there are folks on the ground who are going to to be able to talk to them about the enthusiasm and the efforts that are already underway is really incredible. I'm so grateful to Anderson Clayton and all of the leadership on the North Carolina Democratic Party to embrace Justice Riggs and I in this endeavor. And I think the lesson I want to bring to you is my lesson from 2018, because that was a year, also a midterm, also 2 years after Donald Trump took over the presidency of this country, and also a year in which we had candidates running in every state house and state senate district across the state. And what's extraordinary about 2018 was, without a U.S. Senate seat on the ballot, we had higher turnout for midterm than the prior midterm, not a whole much higher, but still 52% instead of 51%. And we had higher turnout than the subsequent midterm. And really, you have to go back to the 1990 Gantt v. Helms U.S. Senate race, which was a midterm, to get anything higher than what we had in 2018. That year we had 61%. So that's kind of my marker. I'm like, if we can get to 61% in this state in a midterm, conditions are very different now. The state's very different. The electorate's very different. But the impetus, I think the fact that voters across the state understand that it's not just at the national level, but at every level of government, we're headed in the wrong direction, and we need to turn things around. Turnout, I think, is going to matter tremendously. And we know that the most recent polling has my opponent and I at a statistical tie. The same poll that gave Roy Cooper like 5-point lead, way beyond the margin of error. So people are going to vote for that U.S. Senate seat, and the real question is, are they going to vote down the ballot and care about our judiciary? And that's where you are going to come in. And I want to say, it's not just the Supreme Court. The Court of Appeals We had 3 seats on the ballot in 2018, and all 3 won. And it might not surprise you to find out that today we only have 3 Democrats on that 15-member Court of Appeals because they won in 2018. And we've got to keep those Democratic seats on that court. That is also a court that we can flip in 2028 because 5 Republican seats will be up that year. So if we can keep the 3 Court of Appeals seats we have and flip 5 in 28, well, that court will then be 8 Democrats, 7 Republican, which reflects the voting patterns of the people of the state. And the Court of Appeals matters because so many cases end there. They never come to our court, but also because it is in many ways the training ground for the Supreme Court. And while I think it's useful to have a mix of backgrounds on our court, there's important ways in which if we're shut out of that level of the courts, it'll be much harder for us to have an impact on the Supreme Court. So I appreciate all of you for your time this evening, for your willingness to be engaged, to talk about judges. I hope you will tell people that for 30 years my role was to defend people's rights, and that's what I stand for. My opponent has a record of taking people's rights away. That's the main difference between us. So I'll let other folks fill you in on more of the details, and I will turn it over to our amazing, incredible, fantastic Becca Zirkin.
Thank you so much, Justice Earls. And thank you, Justice Morgan, for that wonderful introduction to where we are and what we need to do. We are so proud to fight to elect Democrats to the courts. Thank you, everyone, for being here, for being ready to talk to voters, for being ready to start now in January talking to voters. So here's what we're going to cover tonight. First, we're going to talk about why we're doing this and what anytime canvassing is, which is what you're going to find out about. Then exactly how it works, what your next steps are going to be, how to build a team, and then for those who are new to canvassing, MiniVAN 101. So first, how it works and why. Oops, get my slides going here. Anytime canvassing is a way for us to empower you to talk to the voters that we most need to reach in your neighborhood anytime you like, as often as you like, and to recruit others to help you. We're giving you all the tools that you need to do that. And we may have a little learning curve together this first go round, but ultimately this is a pretty straightforward program. So, who are the voters that we most need to reach? And this touches on what Justice Earls just talked about. They're the ones who likely agree with us, but they don't always vote. Flip NC explained it really well, and so I really couldn't say it better, and so this is borrowed a lot from them, that in a midterm, turnout is often more than 20 points lower than in a presidential election. And so that means that we have an enormous opportunity to win by turning out left-leaning presidential year voters who typically sit out the midterms. So they're already voters, and these should be friendly doors that we're going to. But they may be less aware of the down-ballot races or why these races matter for their lives. So this is the easiest and most effective action that we can take to increase votes for Democrats. And it's not just going to be Democrats that we're talking to, also unaffiliated, maybe even a few Republicans in there. And turning out these left-leaning voters for Justice Earls, and then we will be adding into our script later after the primary, the Court of Appeals candidates as well will help turn out votes up and down the ballot, including for Roy Cooper, but also including for the state legislature. So our number one priority needs to be to turn these voters out and to tell them about the courts. So if you're wondering if it's too early to start talking to these folks, the answer is no. Flip NC's research showed that when we talk to these voters early in the cycle, we actually have a bigger impact than when we talk to them right before the election. And we have a lot of people that we need to reach. So Does this make a difference? You already know it does, or you would not be here. But I'll just remind you that Justice Riggs won by only 734 votes, which is about 7 votes per county. So that is what we call a field margin. Every vote counts. And because this is a statewide race, a vote in Ashe County counts the same as a vote in Charlotte. We need every single voter. And these are your neighbors. You are the absolute best messenger. And so your work could tip the entire election. Here's what we're asking you to do. To attend these monthly Zoom meetings, we will onboard new folks each time, but also we'll have updates, tweaks, new information in the script. So, and also it'll just be nice to all have a chance to check in. But so we're asking you to come to the monthly Zoom meetings if you can. And then to canvass at least once, maybe even up to 3 times a month. Through March, we'll focus on Justice Earls in the script. After that, we will have a whole statewide court, so Justice Earls plus the 3 Court of Appeals candidates focus. And we're asking you to please grow the team. Make it social, make it fun. We're doing really important work, but it should be fun too. And spread the word about it because we have so many people to talk to. This weekend, if weather allows, we encourage everyone to get out there to start knocking doors. The beauty of Field Team Justice is if you can't do it this weekend, you can do it anytime. So, but we'd love to have a big weekend of action this weekend. And then on Sunday at 6 p.m., we're going to reconvene in this Zoom to hear how it went and get your feedback. So now I am going to pass it off to Sarah, who's going to talk nuts and bolts about how this works.
Thank you, Becca. I'm Sarah O'Brien. I'm the organizing director for the North Carolina Democratic Party, and I'm so excited to see 251 people on this call today getting ready to knock doors and talk to voters in every corner of the state. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how anytime canvassing works and then how you can get started. So we are going to provide you with a list of voters, a script, and a PDF of a Leave Behind handout. You are going to plan a time that you want to canvass that works for you. Each of these canvases has 16 doors, so we expect that it probably is a 1 to 2 hour canvass, depending on the geography near you. You're going to prepare the Leave Behind handout, more to come on that, and then you're going to go out, have really good conversations with your neighbors, and then you're going to grow your team, expand the footprint of this program by asking friends to join you. So the first up, we're going to talk about how you get your voter list. We are going to be canvassing using MiniVAN. MiniVAN is a canvassing app that you put on your phone, and it allows us to do paperless canvassing, no more clipboards with voter lists, and automatic data entry as you're out in the field, which means that we get better, faster data back into the database, and that helps our candidates and it helps our county parties. So MiniVAN is a really important tool, and we're going to be using it for this program. If it's the first time you're hearing about MiniVAN or using MiniVAN, hang back at the end of this training. I'll do an introductory training so you'll have all the information about how to get it onto your phone and how to use it. So MiniVAN works by putting in a list number. And for this canvas, everyone's going to be using the same magic list number anywhere in the state. You will get this email number in your email, and that's an email that'll be coming from me over the next couple days. When you put the list into MiniVAN, MiniVAN's going to generate a list of 16 doors close to you, and these doors are checked out to you for the next 7 days. So once you have your pool of 16 doors, you have 7 days to go to talk to those voters. All right, so this is how it works. All these people are the pool of voters that we need to talk to. It's a statewide pool of voters across the state. And you're here, you're a little blue canvasser, and you're going to put your MiniVAN number in, and you're going to get 16 voters close to you who you need to talk to. In MiniVAN, it's going to look very familiar. If you've canvassed before with MiniVAN, they're going to appear as dots on a map, and you'll be able to look at it as a list of addresses or as a list of people. And on the next slide, there you go. The list of people, I think, is going to be a really important view for you because you're going to be canvassing most likely in your own neighborhood. So you'll be able to scan ahead of time to see which of the neighbors on that list you already know. And you may want to start there if you're first time canvassing and you want to start with somebody that you are familiar with already. So this is the most important point. So you want to only enter that list number once you're in the place where you want to canvass. So if you want to canvass from your house, you put that list number in from your house and you'll get doors in your neighborhood. If you're in your party headquarters and you put that list number in, you'll get doors next to your party headquarters. So it's based on where you are at the time that you put the list in. After you've gotten your doors, you knock them all. They're going to be marked as attempted. And then, because Becca asked you to do this 1 to 3 times a month, you can use that same exact list number, you put it in again, and it'll generate a new list of 16 people that need to be contacted. So you're not going to go back to the old people and overknock them. We're not going to burn people out early on in this year. You'll get a whole new set of people that need to be knocked. And if you have a friend who's going to join you, they put that list number in and they're going to get a different discrete set of voters. And even if they were standing right next to you, they would get a whole different set of voters. So we're never going to be overlapping, and we're also going to always be able to get people close to where we are. All right, reminders about using MiniVAN to record data. So these are good practices for any canvas, and especially this one. You're only going to be wanting to record information for the voter that you have on the list in front of you. So you want to confirm when you start the conversation that you are talking to the voter you think that you were trying to reach. And then you're going to want to only record information for that person in that person's record, right? So if you talk to the roommate or the spouse, you don't want to record their information for that person, for the wrong person. Any data that you collect is good data. And so if somebody moved, that's good for us to know. We won't go back to them and waste our time or money. If somebody's not with us, that's helpful to know too. If that's a building we can't get into, that's no problem. We will call or text or send them mail. It's good for us to know this early in the year so that we don't spend our time and our money trying to reach voters that we can't reach on doors. There are 2 survey questions in the script that we'll get to, and we want you to fill both of those out. All right, so speaking of the script, there are 3 key points that you want to convey during this canvas. The first is that we elect our judges. Not everybody knows that. And so we're going to make sure everybody understands that we have a chance to defend our rights by electing judges across North Carolina this year. And we're going to make a point that this is a statewide race, much like the governor's race, where we all get to vote and it all counts the same, no matter which part of the state, this gerrymandered state that we're in, you can't gerrymander a statewide race. We're also going to talk about the fact that the Republican judges aren't standing up for us. There are going to be 3 or 4 different options that you can choose to kind of highlight one example of how the Republican judges weren't standing up for us. And this is where you can kind of personalize it and tailor it. You can talk about why you feel so strongly about this, that you're going out in cold January and February to talk to them on their doorsteps. This is the part where you can kind of tailor the conversation to the issues that are most important to you, whether it's education or voting rights or the environment or energy costs. And then the third point that we're going to make is the call to action, which is that we're going to re-elect Justice Anita Earls this November to the state Supreme Court. I will not be reading the script tonight, but you can find it before you go out in one of 3 places. It's going to be in MiniVAN. It will also be linked in the follow-up email that you'll get when you get the list number. And it'll be in the quick start guide that you got before today's phone call, and then that you'll get again after today. Whenever you're canvassing, that script is just a guideline, right? So you want to make it feel natural. You want to read it a couple times until you can put it in your own words and make it sound like you. Voters remember how you make them feel more than they remember the specifics of what you say. So use good body language, have a natural, normal, warm conversation with a neighbor, right? You don't have to feel bound by the exact words or being the most diligent deliverer of this message. Just have a normal conversation, and that does the heavy lifting for you. And then if you don't know the answer to something, it's okay to say that you don't know. You're unlikely to be quizzed on anything, but if you have a question that you want to look up later, you can put a note in the notes section. You can shoot us an email and we'll help try to find that answer so that if you get that question again, you'll have the information the next time. All right, and I'm going to turn it over to Becca now to talk about the handout.
Thanks, Sarah. So the handout is very simple. It's a PDF that you print at home. It's just a half sheet. So there's two on a page, one-sided only in black and white. And you're going to handwrite a little message on each one. So in our quick start guide, we've told you what you could write. You can write something else if you want, but we're suggesting something like, I stopped by, just making sure that everyone knows about voting for Justice Earls this November. I'm your neighbor on Smith Road. Call if you have any voting questions, and then sign it. And if you feel comfortable, put your phone number there, because you can then be their voting contact. Any questions that they have, they'll know to contact you. So some tips for this: prep the notes before you go out, but leave a space at the top for the voter's name, because you'll only need to write that in if they don't answer the door. If you talk to them, you'll still give it to them, but you don't have to, put their name on it. So bring a pen with you when you're knocking doors so you can write in those names. And again, make it personal, but only include the contact information that you feel comfortable giving out. Just to have expectations when you go out canvassing, normally 10 to 20% of the voters will answer the door. That's what we expect. That's why it takes a lot of us. And you're gonna leave the handout for every single person, so everybody's gonna get the information. But please do not leave it on a mailbox or in a mailbox, anywhere touching a mailbox, because it is a federal offense. No mailboxes. It is okay when you're out canvassing to feel awkward. It is kind of awkward, but it is not okay to feel unsafe. So if you feel unsafe for any reason, please skip that house and move on. Be respectful with everyone, of course, but don't spend time with people who are not receptive to you. If this is not a time to try to persuade someone to agree with us. We're trying to reach people who are on our side, but just need to have the information about voting for Justice Earls. So you can just say, thanks so much for your time, have a great day, and move on. And now I'm going to pass it back to Sarah, because we're going to talk very specifically about what you are going to do next to take action.
Thanks, Becca. All right, so I'm going to pull it all together, all these different pieces that we've been talking about, and how to follow a checklist, a punch list to get all of the pieces together. So the first step is to request the list. This is a Google form that we're going to drop in the chat right now, and then I'm going to give you a minute. I'm going to sit here while everybody fills out this Google form. And so we're going to ask you to put in your name and your contact information, and we'll send you the list number in the next couple of days. We're going to review all the requests and send them out, and you'll get an email with the subject line, Field Team Justice Voter List Number MiniVAN. So whenever you search your email, it'll be right there. So I'm going to wait 1 minute and give everyone a chance to fill that form out.
That link is in the chat.
All right, so you will also get this in the follow-up email. So if you didn't get to do it now, you can do it later in this presentation or tomorrow. The Quick Start Guide is your most important, most comprehensive source of information for this project. It has all the links that you need in order to request the list number, print your literature, build your team. Everything that you need is in this one amazing resource that Becca helped to compile for this project. So find your Quick Start Guide, bookmark that. That's going to be an important resource for you. Then you're going to make sure you have MiniVAN on your phone. So you can either download it if you've never used it before, or you can update it because it's gotten some recent updates since last November. So you might want to refresh your MiniVAN. And then if you haven't logged in a while, now's a good time to figure out what your action ID and your password is. You're going to print and prepare your handouts, right? So you're going to print 8 black and white sheets of paper. You're going to cut them in half, and you're going to handwrite your note. You're going to do that before you go out to Canvas, just making sure you leave a spot on the top to write in the name as you go. If you don't have a printer, I saw somebody in the chat, it's okay. I would do this Canvas anyway. Even if you don't have a printer, you can always just write on a piece of paper. We just wanted to save you some of the handwriting, but don't let the handout stop you if that is the only barrier to going out. Still think it's important to knock those doors. And then when you're ready to go out, you're going to go to your starting points, you're going to put in your list number, and you're going to knock those doors. We know that the weather this weekend is looking a little iffy. The beautiful thing about anytime canvassing is that we don't have to cancel it. If there's a break in the weather, if you are living in an area where you can walk around, my best canvassing ever has been on snowy days because people were like, you must really love this candidate if you're out here on my doorstep today. So highly recommend getting out if you can. And if you can't, we'll pick another weekend. But I will be on Zoom on Sunday night at 6 p.m. Same Zoom link as you used today, because I want to hear how it went, right? We're all learning this together. I'd love to hear how your conversations were, what worked for you, what questions you still have, what would make this better. So those are the next steps to getting started. And next slide, please. I did want to point out a few things looking ahead, how this canvas is going to evolve over the course of the year. So it's important to note that the magic list number that we're going to be putting in does change every 30 days. That's a feature of Vote Builder, and the reason is so that we're using a fresh voter pool as people register and move and all that stuff. It all is accounted for. So we're going to be refreshing this number every 30 days. So the list you get now will be good until February 25th, and then you'll get a new list number. We will also be switching the script after the primary. We'll be adding our Court of Appeals candidates after the primary is completed. So there is going to be an evolution of the script as the year goes as well. The ways you can keep up, there are 4 of them, and you can pick and choose which ones work for you. We'd love to have you back next month for the monthly meeting on the 25th of February. You'll hear updates about the program itself. You'll hear what kind of progress we've made. We're going to shout out the people who knock the most doors. So we definitely want you to come back. It'll be a good time to onboard new people as well. I will send an email out to anybody who has been canvassing. So if you canvass this month, I will send you a list number when we refresh it. So that's the second way to keep in touch. The third way to keep in touch will be, back up, what was our third bullet point? There you go. You can use the Google form. So if you fall off, you don't get to canvass this month, but you still want to do it, just use the Google form to request a list number. We will be constantly reviewing that, those requests and sending that list out. And then the email address there, vods@ncdp.org, is a good way to reach NCDP organizers. So you can reach out if you have questions, and we will get you the answers. All right, I'm going to turn it to Becca now, who is the queen of building teams who go out and canvas together, and she's going to tell us how to do it.
This is my favorite part. So Sarah built this amazing tool. So we've provided you the tool. You are providing the team. Team is the operative word. I already see all that teamwork happening in the chat, and I want to thank you for that. I see people problem solving and suggesting in the chat, and it's just great to see everybody taking ownership of this project. So here's how we are suggesting that you build a team. Host a door knocking party. Set a time and a date. Invite at least 5 people to come. And in the Quick Start Guide, we provide a suggested email that you can send to them, but we actually suggest that you call each person, because if you've organized before, you know just sending out a group email, you don't get as good a response as if you call them individually. Then you send an email follow-up, then you could text a few days later and say, hey, hope you can come. And we've scripted all those things for you in the Quick Start Guide, so you can just copy and paste if you want to. Then everyone will gather at your house or some other starting point. You are now the trainer. You will have the Quick Start Guide, so you will go over the Quick Start Guide with everybody at your door knocking party and head out and talk with neighbors. Then come back and have donuts and talk about how it went. Make it fun. Like I said before, we're doing something really important, but it's important to have fun while we're at it. So just as a reminder about how it works with the number, that you need to first go to your starting point and then enter the list number. So if there's more than one person, If you want to go together to canvas, you want to do that on one person's phone, because if someone else puts in the number, they will get an entirely different set of doors. If they're standing next to you and they enter the number, then they will get a set of doors a little bit further away. So again, go to your starting places and then put in your list number. And those will be checked out to you for 7 days, as Sarah said. So we encourage you to make this your own. Give your team a name, and we'll find out at our next meeting what good names you came up with. Make it a project for your precinct. I know a number of precincts are doing that, and that's wonderful. Canvas between the other outreach events that your county is doing. There's so much important work happening in the county parties, so we all need to be doing all the things. And please join the monthly Zoom for updates and a progress report. And if you want some merch, we've got these wonderful Justice Earls t-shirts and pins and yard signs, all designed by our digital team, that are on the store, and you get a code to get 20% off. So hope you might want to take advantage of that. So now we're going to pause for a second just to see if there's any pressing questions we need to answer before we say goodbye to everybody who is comfortable with canvassing, does not need MiniVAN training. You are good to go as long as you have requested your list number in the Google form. So again, that link is going to be in the chat. Make sure you did that before you go anywhere. And I see one question that's a good how this works for everybody question. If you're visiting another part of the state, can you get a list of folks out there? Anywhere in North Carolina, we want you to knock those doors. So of course it doesn't have to be just your neighbors. Another question, if I'm with a team, maybe 4 of us, if we all put in the same list number, will we all get the same list back so we can share our load? No, okay, right. So that's each person's going to get a separate list. So if you want to go together, use one person's phone, go together, then you could always, move a little bit away and together and do a second list together. But otherwise, you'll never get the same names on 2 different phones. We are going to now move into talking about how to use MiniVAN. So first of all, I would like to thank Justice Earls and Justice Morgan again for being here and for listening to this training too, and just let you know that we would love for you to stay, but you are very welcome to go anytime. We totally understand you have many things to do, and thank you again. And I am going to pass it back to Sarah to now take us through MiniVAN training. And if you feel ready to go, you are a field team justice canvasser, and we can't wait to hear about it. All right, Sarah.
All right. Thank you, Becca. All right, MiniVAN 101. So if you've never used MiniVAN before, I'm going to tell you how to get it on your phone. If it's been a while and you want a refresher, this is for you as well. All right, so you're going to download MiniVAN onto your phone, either using the App Store if you're on an iPhone, or if you're on an Android, you're going to go to the Google Play store and then you're going to search for MiniVAN Touch. It has this little flower. You're going to download it. And if it's been a while, I recommend going and getting the updates, because there are some cool updates as well. You're going to log in with your action ID. Now, if you've ever canvassed before, you have an action ID. If you've done phone banks with us using OpenVPB, you have an action ID. If you have used Vote Builder, you have an action ID. It's the same username and password that goes across all of the different parts of our technology. If you can't remember your action ID, that's okay. There's an option to reset your password. And if you've never canvassed before, you're going to click on Create an Action ID. Then it'll ask you to put in an email address and create a password. You'll put in your first name, your last name, you'll agree to the terms of service, and then voila, you have an action ID for MiniVAN. So you're going to enter that, you're going to click Login with Action ID, now that you have your new one, and it'll take you into the app. And the first thing it asks you is for a list number. And that is the magic list number that I was talking about earlier. It's the same one for everybody in the state, and you can use it over and over again. You will get that list number in an email. So once again, this Google form, right? So let us know you want this list number. We will review the request and then we will send it out to you in an email. The email will be very, very clearly labeled MiniVAN number, Field Team Justice. Once you have your list number, you're going to be in this screen and then you're going to put the list number in. It's a two-part number, so you're going to put one half in, and then there's a little hyphen, and then there's another box, and you'll put the second half in that one. You'll click download list. It'll give you a little reminder that it's auto-syncing. This is great news because this means that as you're going along, even if you lose connection, it'll be syncing in the background, and then as soon as you get back on your Wi-Fi, it'll upload it again. And if you're on Wi-Fi or you have that cellular service, it'll be syncing back to the cloud as you go. So you don't have to actually do anything. It used to be that you had to sync it, but no longer. You can look at your doors in two different ways. If you click Household View, you'll see it as a map and a list of addresses. This is really my preferred way to use it because I'm a very visual person and I like to see where I am oriented to the rest of the doors. But for your neighbors, you might want to preview the list ahead of time and see whose names are on it. And I like this people view for that purpose. All right, so you're going to click on the address, either the bubble on the map or the list below. Both of those work. When you click on it, it'll give you this pop-up. You're going to probably want to click Open Household. I guess before I talk about Open Household, I do want to say, if you can't find the house, that view in Street View is really useful. And if for some reason the house is far from you, that Get Directions will give you Google directions to the house. So that can be useful as well. Although I expect in this canvas, you won't have houses that are too far away. So you likely will be able to walk from house to house. So then you're going to click Open Household. It'll give you a list of names of people who live at that house that you want to reach. And when you click on that, you'll get into that voter's screen. So the screen has a lot of information on it. It has different tabs where you can find out more about that voter. The Details tab has contact information. The Notes tab is a free form where you can write information. And then the history will show you who's tried to reach this person before. The middle of the screen is the script. And then this red button at the top is important if you can't talk to that person, if you aren't able to reach them. So you'll click on that. It'll give you a list of reasons why you might not have been able to contact that person. And you're probably going to use not home most often, right? That's the safest choice. If you're not sure which one to choose not home. That will put them, it'll say that we've attempted them, so you're not going to go back to them right away, but it does mean that in the future, when we do other canvases, we might go back to them at another time. Deceased and moved are self-explanatory. Often you'll either be able to observe that the house is empty, somebody's moved out, or somebody will maybe tell you can't reach that person because they no longer live there or they've passed. Then inaccessible, I use that and I encourage you to use that only when nobody else will be able to get to that door too. So behind if it's a gated community or it's an apartment building with internal doors, those are all inaccessible buildings that nobody else coming behind you would also be able to go to. I wouldn't use it for things like there's a construction worker like blocking the entrance to that driveway. Like maybe that's not, next time somebody won't be there, or an angry dog. I wouldn't go to that house, but I also wouldn't mark it as inaccessible because the dog might not be there the next time. Refused is rare, should be very rare, I would expect, on this canvas of friendly Democrats. But you would use refused only in a scenario where you're talking to the target voter, they know why you're there, and they really don't ever want you to come back again. Then you mark them refused. If it's a bad time, they're cooking dinner, their kid's crying, they don't want to talk at that moment, mark them as not home. But refused is like, don't ever come back and talk to me about politics again. If they are here, you're going to focus more on the script portion of here. And the script basically has the parts that we talked about, right? An introduction, your 3 key messages, and then there's 2 survey questions at the end of it. And that's what the script looks like. So it's kind of divided up into those 3 pieces. Next slide. There you go. And here are your survey questions. So after you've had your conversation with folks about Anita Earls and the importance of electing her next year, you're going to take the temperature, right? Can we count on your support for our candidate, Justice Anita Earls, for Supreme Court in the 2026 election? And then depending on your response, their response to you, you'll use your best judgment to choose one of these answers. And this is really, really helpful information for us because we know how to approach them in the future, and for the candidate to know how to target use their resources to target the voters best. And then we include a volunteer ask. And this is really important, especially so early in the year, because this is our chance to build the team that's going to be able to expand the reach and reach as many voters as possible. So this is not a throwaway. We really do want you to ask if we can count on them to volunteer to join us and help elect Democrats this year. This is right before precinct organizing. This is a great time to get your neighbors to come to your precinct meeting. So do ask this question, see who says yes. You might be surprised. And I saw this question earlier in the chat. What do you do if the person who you are trying to reach isn't home, but you have a great conversation with somebody else? You can use this little person plus button to look up a registered voter in North Carolina. You'll put in their first name, last name, and the zip code, and you'll search, and it'll come up with a list of people who match those criteria. It's usually only 1 or 2 people. And then you'll get a regular screen just like you would have for your target voter, and you'll be able to record that information for the right person in the right spot. General canvassing tips if you've never done it before, and I know that this will be intuitive. So we're going to be respectful of people and their property, right? We're going onto their yards, onto their property. So we're going to use our walkways. We're not going to walk over their lawn. If somebody asks you to leave or is rude, you just de-escalate the situation and walk away. If somebody tells you that you're not allowed to be there because soliciting is not permitted, and I've had that experience at like big apartment complexes with property managers, canvassing is actually not soliciting. It's your First Amendment right to go talk to voters at their houses. So you have a right to be there. Whether you decide to pursue that or focus on different doors is kind of your level of comfort in the situation. All right, so I've reached the end of my MiniVAN 101, and I think we have a few more minutes so we can do some questions if there are some, and I will defer to Becca.
We have a few questions. I saw one earlier in the chat. What if I don't have a printer? And there were some great suggestions about you could handwrite the message, don't let that be the thing that stops you. You can just write a note. So for sure, you could do that if you don't have a neighbor who can print it for you. Sarah, this is for you. How is the person who might say yes to volunteering contacted later, and who does that contact?
It's such a good question. So these are your neighbors. If you are maybe a precinct captain or you are working with your precinct, you can invite them to participate in local events. So you could be the person that contacts them next. It does go into the North Carolina Democratic Party's database. And so we often support county party activities by calling folks who have said they're interested and inviting them to upcoming canvasses or meetings. And so they might be contacted in that way. Those are the 2 main ways that we reach out to folks afterwards. And then county parties do similar outreach for the same reasons.
And I'll just tack on because I know Sarah Broadwell asked that particular question. So for the county party data nerds out there, just know that the data that's collected when there's a contact, an attempt won't reflect, but any contact that was made with a voter will be reflected in county party vote builders. Question about, do we have a primer on what the different courts like Supreme Court, Court of Appeals do and examples of how they've affected people's lives, education, redistricting, etc. And yes, actually I do. And I'm going to put that in the chat in 1 second. I have a talking points document, so I'll put that in one sec. I cannot talk and type at the same time. Those are all the questions I see that were pulled out. There's a question about I'd like to find a partner to canvas with so we could both do our list together. Can you help identify canvassers, who are nearby? Do we have a mechanism to be able to do that, Sarah?
I would reach out to rods@ncdp.org. That goes to me and to the 5 regional organizing directors that I work with. And so we'll see that and put your county in, and the person whose region that's in will reach out and try to partner you up. We'd love to make those connections.
Can you type that email in, Sarah? Someone's asking for that. Is there anything else you want to add, Sarah?
We are just super excited to be doing this. I think this is a really important way to give you flexibility to go out when it works. I know a lot of times people want to do something, and so this is the answer to what can I do? And you can do it kind of where and when it works for you. So I think Becca made the point earlier, and it bears repeating. Your counties are doing really important work all the time. This is meant to kind of layer in between those things. And so this is a way of doing additional work at times where your county party doesn't have something going on, or in addition to the things that your county party is doing.
And someone's asking, when can they expect to get the list number? So we'll have that out to you in the next couple of days. So watch for that email. And the recording should be posted tomorrow for folks who, if you want to share it with people so they can watch this whole training. It'll be on our YouTube site, and we will send that out in an email tomorrow. Oh, thank you. Someone's asking again if there's a phrase that you can use when you're talking at the doors about why this is so important. In the script, there are examples listed that you can pick from about how Republicans on the court are not protecting your votes. And so there are 4 pretty specific examples in there. There's no reason to go into a very long explanation while you're at the doors. So there's one about the Republicans trying to overturn the 2024 election, about blocking school funding, about siding with Duke Energy to allow higher utility rates, and about throwing out fair maps to allow really gerrymandered ones. So you can pick, we suggest one of those things. Pick your favorite. All right, Anderson, you have any closing remarks for us before we end for the night?
I would just say thank you so much to Becca and Sarah for all the incredible work that y'all have done to put this together. And also, Allison Riggs won a Supreme Court justice fight by 734 votes, and 200,000 people came out and voted in 2024. Democrats came out and voted that did not turn out down ballot for Supreme Court elections. And so the important work of getting to these voters early, you all are doing. And so thank you for that. And we're excited to get going with you. So Becca, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much, everybody. We cannot wait to hear how it goes. You know how to find us by email, and we can't wait to hear your feedback on all of this. So thank you, thank you, thank you, and we'll see you on Sunday night in the Zoom, 6 o'clock. Good night.